In this video, we're going to learn about hatches or creating section lines. So open up your set template file and save it as Creating Hatches Tutorial. Okay, so let's get into our visible layer and draw the figure that you see in the book. So it's just a simple rectangle. So we'll do dimensions 200 by 100. And then there's a circle in the middle, so I'm going to change my UCS to the corner here, enter, and do a circle whose center is 100 by 50 and the radius is 25. Alright, so we will go into the center layer and put a center mark. Go back to the Home tab and get into the Dimension layer and put your name inside the rectangle. Make sure that the text is annotative. So this should be highlighted. The text height will be 3 millimeters, but just make sure the annotative button is highlighted. And just type your name and then close the editor when you're done. Alright, so that's it as far as the drawing. We don't need to add the dimensions. Alright, so section lines on a drawing are thin. So they're not thick like the visible lines. So we're going to keep them on the dimension layer because they'll be the same thickness. So we want them to be the same color. You can create a section line layer if you want to keep it separate from your dimensions. But we'll just have it on the dimension layer for now. Alright, to create a hatch, you'll go ahead and click on this hatch command. You'll notice that a hatch creation tab appears, which allows you to select your hatch region, select your section line type, and all the properties like the angle, the scale, all of that. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is select the section line type, and we'll select this ANSI 31. Which is cast iron or general. It can be used for a general material. So remember, the section line type is based on the material. If we pull this down, you can see a lot of them are named. So this is for concrete, this is for sand, this is for brass, this is for brick. But the top are the most heavily used, right? This is for cast iron, this is for steel, this is for brass, and so on. So we're going to use the ANSI 31 for this. And then we want to make sure that it is annotative. So we're going to select the annotative button here. And we're going to select which area we want to hatch. There's a couple ways of doing it, and we're going to try the couple ways so that you can see the difference. The first way we're going to do is to select a boundary. Alright, so we're going to click on that and select the boundary. And we're going to select every line in this rectangle. So if you drew the rectangle using lines, select all the lines. If you drew it using a rectangle, just select the rectangle. And you'll notice that it hatches everything inside that rectangle. Use the select boundary button again, and this time select the circle. And so you can select more than one boundary, right? If we didn't want to hatch the circle, then we just select that as a boundary as well. So you can do that. All right, so get out of the hatch creation window and go ahead and select that hatch we just created and delete it. All right, so let's create a hatch again and do it in a different way. So select the hatch command, and this time we're going to use pick point. So pick a point, and you're just going to pick a point inside the area that you want the hatch. So we want it in this area. So we're going to pick that point, and you'll notice that it hatches everything inside that area. And you'll also notice that it goes around the text, which it didn't do last time, right? The hatch went through the text when we used the select boundary. So the pick a point is nice in a way. It's kind of more automatic. The select boundary is more manual, but if you want more control, sometimes that gives you more control. All right, so let's go ahead and close the hatch pattern. All right, so let's say we made this hatch and we want to change some things. Well, we can do that. Just click on the hatch, and the hatch editor will now come up, and we can change some properties. So if we don't want it to be cast iron, we can change it to steel. And there you go. If we say, no, it's not steel, it's brass, we can click on it again, go to ANSI 33, and let's say, well, we want a different angle. Well, we can put a different angle in. So let's put -15. And this is relative to the angle of 45 that it already is. So -15 would give us an angle of 30. All right, and let's say we want to change the scale. We're going to change the scale to 2, which would give us more space in between the lines. So we can edit it however we want, and we can go back in. All right, we'll close the editor. All right, now let's go to the Annotate tab and delete some scales. Let's now focus on the annotative properties of the hatch and the text and add a scale support of 1 to 2. All right, so we're going to go to the Annotate tab and the Add or Delete Scales command, which is this one. So we'll click on that. And down here, it'll say Select Annotative Objects. So we'll select the hatch and the text, and then hit Enter. And an annotative object scale window will appear. So select the Add button, and we're going to add 1 to 2. Go OK, and then OK. All right, so let's see if it works. Let's enter the paper space, go into Layout 1. And I'm just going to adjust my viewport border so I can see my object. and get into a 1:1 scale, and then change it to 1:2 and see what happens. See how the text and the hatch change? So no matter how you print it out, it's always going to be printed out at the same size. So that's associativity. All right, let's go back into model space and let's play around with the shape of this rectangle. Sorry, I said associativity, didn't I? I meant annotative properties, because it's always going to print out the same size. Now we're going to play around with the associativity of it. All right, so click on the rectangle and grab one of these grip boxes on the corner and change the shape. Do you notice how the hatch changes shape as well? You can move the text, and the hatch will change. That's associativity. So changing the scales is annotative properties. Changing the shape or the scale is associativity. So sorry for that confusion.